The NEOLD and AUDIFIED RZ602 both emulate the KLANGFILM Siemens valve EQ of the same name. Let's compare them and find out what the differences are and which one sounds better than the other. There's already a big difference in the saturation behavior and sound between the two. The best way to demonstrate that is to set both up to be at the verge of distortion to have the maximum of saturation. I will use a short loop of 1 bar so you will hear the difference clearly. The NEOLD plugin sounds way more saturated and thicker. The AUDIFIED stays relatively clean. When I push into distortion, that difference becomes even more audible. The AUDIFIED plugin just distorts on mostly the low end and sounds not so pretty. The NEOLD has a far more pleasing sounding distortion over a far wider frequency spectrum. And most of all, it stays musical regardless if you use the even or uneven harmonics option. This makes the drive of the NEOLD by far superior in how you can dial it in. This does not mean you cannot use the AUDIFIED plugin to add saturation. You can, and it does saturate nicely in a more subtle way. Pay attention to the snare in this same loop and how everything sounds more even and glued together. You can do the same with the NEOLD of course, and it does saturate and glue even more. What is a more striking difference between the two brands is that it seems that the routing between EQ and saturation is different. On the original hardware you get a kind of involved routing. The audio first goes into the mid band, which goes into its own tube. Then this feeds into the low and high band, and all of this goes through an additional tube stage and then to the output. In practice this means when you drive the plugin quite a bit that the mid band will add extra drive to that first tube and you can shape the drive sound. That second tube stage is much more subtle and won't drive as much. The high and low band won't push it. Now the NEOLD does this in the exact same way. The low and high band sound a lot more like post-saturation EQ. With the AUDIFIED this sounds really different because the low band can also drive easily into saturation and distortion. Either the routing is wrong on the AUDIFIED or the tubes emulated after the high and low band are much harder. It does make the AUDIFIED plugin a lot less flexible for sound sculpting. If you like this breakdown so far, please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already to stay up to date on the latest new plugins. The KLANGFILM hardware has two versions. Both plugins emulate these A and B variations. The difference between the A and B versions is the mid-band only. A uses a tilt-like EQ. That means turning one direction will lower the bass and lift the highs, and the other way around. The B version uses a rather interesting frequency selection / boost control. Now both plugins do emulate these two versions, but how they approach the A and B versions is very different. AUDIFIED gives you two plugins. One is the A version, the other is the B. NEOLD went for an all-in-one type of plugin. You switch between the A and B versions by using this mode selector, and you can switch between which version you use per channel. This is more flexible and faster. The actual EQ curves between the NEOLD and AUDIFIED are similar but not the same. I personally don't mind this at all. I assume they both are modeled on a real vintage hardware unit. I know that for sure with the NEOLD, and that will cause differences due to how old the units are and how well they are serviced. What is more striking to me is that the AUDIFIED plugin has a way more pronounced high frequency lift when you don't boost the high frequencies. That means that the AUDIFIED can sound more brighter and lively when you load it in. It is flatter when you turn it a step down. Interface wise, they both look fine and detailed and work well. Which one you prefer as a matter of taste, I prefer the AUDIFIED one. It's more easy to look at and you get input and output meters which might come in useful. The NEOLD plugin is a bit much, it's quite busy to look at. NEOLD has announced to make an optional different looking interface because of that. In terms of sound and flexibility, the NEOLD will be the better choice. The AUDIFIED wins it with its interface. I take a deeper dive in the NEOLD RZ602 in my review video, go check it out.